Your most authoritative show, The Pulse, is coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlimle on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air on the STV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. Remember, we're your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. This afternoon, Sheikh Ahmed Al Maktoum, a United Arab Emirates-based agent in Ghana's botched attempt to procure Sputnik V vaccines, finally refunds the sum of $2.47 million to government of Ghana, representing the remaining amounts for the non-supplied doses of the vaccines. We'll hear from the chairman of the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee that probed the matter, who says there's nothing more to ask after the refund and the country must consider the matter closed.
Confirm on good authority that indeed the payment has been made, the refund has been made. To me, the major concern of Ghanaians in all of these was possible financial loss to the state.
More people are dying in transit, and it is becoming alarming. That's the worry of the Ghana Medical Association, which explains the increasing cases of COVID-19 in the country is overstretching health facilities. On The Pulse today, we're having a conversation about what differently we can do to stem the tide. Relatives of 3 accused persons standing trial for murder of social media activist Ibrahim Mohammed in Ejura left disappointed as court for the 4th time adjourns case. We'll tell you why the AG's office needs more time to pursue and advise on the case accordingly, right here on The Pulse. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities, Dignilu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. We are also streaming live on YouTube and all our social media handles. Tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at the Nana Aisha. I'm excited that it's a Thursday. It's always a pleasure to host you. Let's begin with COVID-19 related issues, because the United Emirates-based agent in Ghana's botched attempt to procure Sputnik V vaccine, Sheikh Ahmed Al Maktoum, has finally refunded the sum of $2.47 million to the government. That's according to chairman of the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee that investigated the Sputnik V deal, Alexander Afenyo-Markins. He says the money represents the remaining amount for the non-supplied doses of the vaccines. With this out of the way, Mr. Afenyo-Markins says there is nothing more to ask and the country must consider the matter closed. Deputy Majority Leader Afenyo-Markins, who chaired the committee that probed the deal, confirms receipt of the money and says there's nothing more to demand of the Health Minister, Kwekwajiman Meno.
Let me confirm on good authority that indeed the payment has been made, the refund has been made. To me, the major concern of Ghanaians in all of these was possible financial loss to the state. The minister, like I said in my debate, was sincere and candid in everything he did. Information flowed to us, written evidence to us, and all of that. This goes to confirm that the minister did not lie when he said at all material times he knew he was dealing with a credible entity. And this flows from, one, the letter they wrote saying that they could not supply the rest, and the fact that they were willing to refund the unsupplied doses. Today, by the grace of God, the funds have fully landed in the account of government of Ghana. People have had all the twists to this whole thing. The minister has been at the receiving end, because even statement of fact that he made, for some convenience, people decided to twist it. But this is public service. This is politics. But he's been firm and been consistent in everything regarding this whole situation. And today, we have the funds back. If you ask me whether or not the committee would have any further action to take, I would say no, because in our recommendation, we stated that he should take the Ministry of Finance should take steps to seek refund of the difference. But the Ministry of Health, rather, consistent with its earlier response to her, has been proactive in ensuring that it is done. And today, it closes the matter.
You heard Chairman of the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee that investigated the Sputnik procurement deal, Alexander Fenyomankins. So, should the payment of the monies by Sheikh Ahmed Dalmouk Al Maktoum put to rest the controversy surrounding this matter? Here's Edem Senanu of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption speaking earlier in an interview with Daniel Dazi.
Respectfully and seriously, it does not. The fact that he indicates that one of the concerns of a majority of Ghanaians was whether we're going to lose some more money, that's true. But beyond that, there is the issue of the breaches of our laws that occurred and how come without the necessary approvals, this payment was made in the first place. There are process issues that suggest that other contracts could have also gone through, gone under the radar without us noticing them, and payments made that we ought to be taking into consideration. And so the matter does not rest simply because the Sheikh has returned the money. The question is, how did we get that far without the international agreement being approved by Parliament, without the Public Procurement Authority approval, without 50% of the consignment having been brought to the shores of this country? How come it is suggested that all effort was made to get a direct source when the embassy here claims that there was no attempt to contact them? So there are more questions than answers at the moment, and we need to make sure that we dig much deeper, get answers to prevent a future reoccurrence. I am surprised that in the parliamentary report, the fact of the breaches by their colleague was not taken into consideration in making a specific recommendation. And that is a gap or a deficit that Parliament must understand, that the people of this country will be taking a good look at them, because all of us really don't understand how come there was no specific recommendation relating to that breach.
Let's go on to the phone line and speak with Martin Kwebu, who is a lawyer. I'm grateful for your time, Mr. Kwebu. You've always asked that we go ahead and get the money from this middleman. Now the money is here. Does the payment settle the matter like the chairman of the committee says?
Not at all. Far from it. Look, with every passing day, this case just shows another ugly side of it. It gets worse and worse by the day. At all, this payment doesn't settle it, except that, yes, it's reduced the liability. You know, number one, the Supreme Court held in Amidu number one, with Attorney General Waterville, that case, okay, Wayomi and others, that when a contract has not received parliamentary approval, that's a contract involving a foreign person, does not receive parliamentary approval, it is totally void. Oh, yes, and Aisha, you and I, we did a program 2 days ago on PM Express, right? And you know,
Definitely.
I brought in the law report and read it out to Ghanaians, that the Supreme Court says such a contract is void. So you cannot get any rights under it. And the reason the Supreme Court says so is that if it is not done, that if they don't take that stance, people can always go ahead and start implementing contracts even when there's no parliamentary approval, in the hope that, not just in the hope, knowing that under law they will be paid because they have worked. So this is going to lead to chaos. That is to say, when a contractor has signed an agreement with government of Ghana and Parliament, the people's representative is yet to scrutinize it, especially if the contractor even knows that some of the terms he has in the agreement are not beneficial to Ghana. All he has to do is try and manage or get it to some relationship with the officers in charge and get them to approve for him to start working, even when Parliament hasn't approved. Then, in the event that Parliament doesn't approve, they will say, oh, but the man has worked, so let's pay him. So the Supreme Court knew what he was doing. The Supreme Court is our highest court. That is the court that is mandated to interpret the Constitution. And they have held that if a contract doesn't have parliamentary approval, it is void. And if it is void, you don't have any rights under it. So Al Maktoum has to bring the balance of $380-something thousand. He has to. And so we'll call upon the finance minister and the health minister to play and do another letter for that balance. Otherwise, then it means I will have to come to them for it, that they will have to personally pay. Yeah.
How does government's response to this matter affirms hope or otherwise in the ordinary Ghanaian? Because we've heard the president make a joke out of this matter. We've also heard the chairman of the committee that probed the health minister say that he did not tell a lie to the committee.
Okay, so number one, the president's joke. Aisha, I think that side, let's be very considerate and practical. I mean, obviously, the president was in Mr. Ajimabenu's homeland. He was in Bono Doma, right? And so, how on earth was the president going to embarrass their son? It just, I mean, in terms of protocol and ethics, it didn't look good. So the president had no option. And you know, visits like this are usually planned well in advance, generally. They say, so for me, that day when the news came that he was in Doma, then I understood why Mr. Ajimabenu has not yet been fired. Because once this visit had been scheduled, it doesn't look good. And actually, I'm putting it charitably. It's just not an option for the president to sack their son, and then in a week or even a month later, he goes to Doma. No. So this side of it is political. So I think we should, now that the president has left Doma, yes, we can continue to repeat our calls that he should be sacked. But at least, let's look at the other side. The positive side is that, look, the president didn't defend him either. And you know, I've started in other interviews, I've shown how if His Excellency wants to defend his ministers, he does it. He's not shy. I mentioned, or he himself wants to respond to something. Remember, Joy FM a few months ago, there was a program where citizens were allowed to voice their concerns about our the president's flagship program, the Free SHS, which the president has really done well by introducing. But when citizens expressed disquiet about the challenges, later the president responded when he went to University of Cape Coast to receive an award. Then Sam Jonah, another case, Sam Jonah said there was a culture of silence. When the president thought he doesn't agree, he openly and publicly responded. There are many other examples. So for me, the fact that when he only chose to make a joke out of it shows that at least so far we've seen that the president cannot say anything in defense. There is no defense thus far. So let's look at it from that perspective.
Mm.
And then you mentioned also the question of Afenyo Maki saying Mr. Ajimabenu doesn't know.
And
I think
he didn't tell any lie.
Mr. Afenyo Maki, I think it's not a fair statement to make. Look, let's be very practical. Listen, that money, there was no way that money would be paid without Mr. Ajimabenu's involvement. Please, I repeat, there is no way that money could have been paid without Mr. Ajimabenu's involvement. Afenyo Maki should bear, with due respect, my learned friend. I mean, it's not good. When he does that, it's as if Ghanaians were fools. Look, let me show you practically in a ministry. The minister is the head. The next is the chief director. Aisha, I'm telling you that a chief director cannot write a letter for payment of such money without the knowledge of the minister. I repeat, a chief director cannot write a letter without for payment of such a colossal sum of money, 16 million Ghana and change. That's $2.8 million. It's about 16 million Ghana. A chief director cannot do that by himself. Look, he would usually it's the minister who writes. Then, if the minister is not around, or if for some reason he's not well and all that, then he will instruct the chief director. Because remember that letter is being written to the finance minister. Ordinarily, a chief director cannot write to a finance minister. The chief director is below the finance minister, so he can't write. So it's only in exceptional cases when the minister is not well and all those that the chief director would write, and that's with the consent and the approval of the minister. A chief director cannot write that letter all by himself. Please. So this thing that Admamenu doesn't know, please, it's a cock and bull story. I think Ghanaians are wise enough with the sense. So people should spare us this thing. I mean, come on. What is this?
So, Counsel, you're so hopeful that definitely the president will do the needful.
Oh, yes, very much so. Yes. Mr. President, we've begged him, and I'm sure now that he's back from Doma, this is the time that Mr. President will be able to reflect on our demands and then do us the honors.
I'm grateful for your time. Martin Kpebu is a lawyer, and he's been speaking about the breaches of law in the contracts between Al Maktoum and the government of Ghana. And he says that there must be prosecutions. Luckily, we're joined also on the Zoom by Executive Director of the Africa Center for Health Policy and Research Analysis, Dr. Thomas Anaba. He's chairman of the committee. Ms. Anaba, if you can hear me, the fact that the committee chairman says the matter must be put to rest since the payment has been made, you earlier called for the health minister's head. Does it settle the matter for you?
Oh, thank you very much. I think that was good afternoon to your listeners and viewers. I think that was an opinion of the personal opinion of the chairman, because the findings that they presented to Parliament, the plenary of Parliament, is different from what he's saying. The man himself has accepted that he has committed a crime. He has accepted that he did something that was untoward. So he may be trying to defend him on the political lines. But when it comes to legal lines, he knows he can't do it. So these are sometimes some of the things that our politicians do, and people just believe that every politician is not somebody we should respect. They do this, and people who have the guts to go into politics and turn Ghana to a good path would not like to go, because this type of behavior does not augur well for a lawyer who has defended cases and defended people in courts. For example, take this case, compare it to the National Communication Authority case, where they've imprisoned people for importing security gadgets for the country. I know 3 people are in jail right now because of it. They even paid money for equipment to be brought, but government still concluded that they have committed a financial loss to the state and they have been imprisoned. This one, they have also paid out money, and even the things haven't come. We had to go and investigate to know that they have paid money, because the man himself told us he hadn't paid any money. Now that we have uncovered that he really paid money and he's denying, it is even worse than what happened under the National Communication Authority deal, which calls for another prosecution of the minister, and even the finance minister, as Michael Kpebu is saying. So I think that he's saying that the man is innocent or he did not tell a lie. It's neither here nor there, because all Ghanaians were watching the TVs, listening to the radio, and we knew very well that the man had told us a lie.
But Mr. Afenyo-Marking explains the point that the committee that probed the matter made a recommendation that the monies must be paid. For him, that action has happened, and so the matter must die.
No, paying back the money alone is not enough. If that is the case, then any public servants or civil servant who misappropriates money and uses it for his own benefit, when you take him to Public Accounts Committee, then they should just allow him to return the money and go free. So let's now make it a game in Ghana that no one should be punished for misappropriating money. No one should be punished for putting money at where it's not supposed to go. No one should be punished for breaching procurement laws. Then Ghana becomes a banana state. If we allow this to go on, then we are creating doom for ourselves. People will go ahead to do things. We already have one issue at hand. We have a road minister awarding contracts without parliamentary approval. It has started. That is the second case now. So are they also going to defend that? So it goes on and goes on. Tomorrow we hear the tourism minister has awarded contract to beautify Accra without involving anybody. Next time we hear that this minister has done that. Is that the way Ghana is supposed to be run? That is not the way. I think something must be done.
Does this put a dent on the work of the committee?
Oh, to me, it doesn't put a dent on the work of the committee. The committee members are standing firm on their decisions, and they've even gone to the plenary. And I've seen Akando, Honorable Akando, who moved the motion for him to be summoned, pushing very hard for him to be punished, seconded by the minority. That is Parliament. So Parliament is still pushing. It is his personal opinion, and his personal opinion cannot decide what we should do to people who have breached the laws of this country.
And of course, if you listen to what the president has been saying, it does not appear that Mr. McMahon will be, I beg your pardon, Ajimameno will be sacked as you are requesting. Are you also hopeful, like Martin Kpebu is, that the president will take action soon?
I am hopeful that even if the president would not sack him, there will be people who will be bold enough to take this case up in the legal spheres to see that this man is sacked. What the president did made some of us to finally conclude that he's suffering from what we call, he's suffering what we call bipolar attitude towards corruption in this country. Bipolar because he's angry when he hears that some people have committed crimes, and he's happy when other people have committed the same crime. And we are seeing it very clearly. I've just cited an example. When it comes to deal with other people who are not his close pals, he's quick to move for them to be picked. Ayariga, common ambulance, he was dragged throughout his tenure in Parliament last time. NCA, people are in prison. Examples are there, numerous examples. This is a very clear example, palpable example of somebody committing crime and disrespecting the laws of Ghana. And you go to say that, oh, he's your man, he's this, he's tired, people are disturbing him. Abba, Mr. President, please give us some little respect. And I don't blame you, because we saw all the corruption charges, allegations in your previous regime, and we still voted you back. It means we Ghanaians endorse corruption and misappropriation of public funds by this government. So if they are doing it, we should blame ourselves. And if he's telling us in our faces that the man has done nothing wrong, he's paying us back for what we have rewarded him for. That is what I can say. Because it's painful that we taxpayers are suffering, and some people are just cutting deals. Cutting deals. COVID-19 testing at airport is cutting deals. We all know. We still don't know the company. And this minister is the one who has caused it. Now you are going to buy vaccines that you can't even get. You've paid money for an LC. When you have an LC, why do you go ahead to pay money? It's all fraud. And President, we beg him, he should do the honorable like Martin Kpebu has just requested. If he can't do it, then we will have to mobilize legal brains to see what we can do to get him out of office, to make sure that civil servants and public officers do not abuse the laws of this country to their own benefits.
How long can you be patient for this to happen?
Oh, we know the plenary will come back, Parliament will resume, and when Parliament resumes, we know they also have to move some motions regarding this. So we are hopeful that when Parliament comes up, we'll look at what they will say. If by that time, President hasn't done anything, we'll look at how it will end. After that, then we'll see what we can do.
What will be your next action if all of these do not happen?
Consult legal persons to see what we can do if the President and Parliament fails to do the honorable.
I'm grateful for your time, Dr. Thomas Anaba. He's the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Health Policy and Research Analysis. Let's talk more on the polls. A final year female student of the Tobodom Senior High School in the Tichima North District of the Bono East region is in urgent need of 32,000 Ghana cedis to undergo surgery or risk being paralyzed. The girl suffering from osteonecrosis of the hip. The painful condition occurs when blood supply to the head of the thigh bone is disrupted. She told JoyNews her condition keeps deteriorating 8 years after the diagnosis. Correspondent Anas Sabit filed this report.
About 8 years ago, Chema Dorothy, then in class 6, suddenly felt some sharp pains around her hip as she went out on her normal daily activity of selling sachet water by the roadside. Little did she know that she was being hit with osteonecrosis of the hip, a painful bone condition which occurs when part of the bone does not get blood and dies. Since then, Dorothy has been battling with pains. She's been unable to sit for longer periods, squat, or walk without these crutches.
Me and my mom were selling pure water and curry and biscuits. Once I I went to the place and picked it. So I was there selling. So one of them came to buy the pure water. And suddenly I tried to stand up and go and sell the thing to the person, but I couldn't. Like, I was feeling some pain in my left hip, that place that is paining me.
Dorothy broke down in tears when she reflects on how she ended up in this situation, and also realizing that neither her parents nor any member of her family is having the financial muscles to support her surgery.
The price that they are demanding before I'll be free, I don't think, like, I was not having any hope or that I would get that money. So that make it so worried to me that maybe I will be crippled or I will not be walk, or even if I walk, I will be holding these crutches, and so it was so worried to me.
2 years diagnosed with the ailment, which requires an amount of 32,000 Ghana cedis for a total hip replacement by specialists at the Wenchi Methodist Hospital. Her mother, Olivia Yabua, tells me that all efforts to raise this amount has proven futile. She is therefore appealing to the general public to come to her daughter's aid before she ends up being a cripple.
Mr. Atiefo, our Moheme, Mr. Doctor
I'm appealing to everyone watching me to come to my aid, because the doctor said if we don't get this done within the shortest possible time, my daughter will end up being a cripple. And if that happens, I'll be very disturbed. So I'm appealing for support financially in the name of God. Without support, my daughter won't be able to continue schooling. And she thinks a lot and is unable to mingle with her peers. So I'm begging you to help my daughter. If not, she has a gloomy future and won't be able to fend for herself. In class here at the Chobodom Senior High School, Dorothy is lively and contributes like any other student academically. However, her teacher, Madame Faustina Frimpoma Asari, remained worried that Dorothy's condition, if not checked, may affect her performance in the upcoming WASI exams.
My fear is this is a deformity caused by sickling cell. So if the surgery is not done on the left hip, there is a possibility that the right hip too will be affected, and it's dangerous. She can lose her life. And gradually, day in and day out, she's getting worse. So it makes me sad, because if she doesn't get a sound, especially the WASI approaching, she's in a Form 3. If she doesn't get a sound mind, it will be difficult for her to progress in life.
Dorothy's only appeal is to be able to walk again without crutches, so she will be able to work after school and support her parents.
I'm pleading to everyone who is watching me now to help me with a little that the person can afford. Because if I don't get rid of this situation, I don't know what's happened to me in this life. So I want everyone watching me now to help me to, even when I finish school around October, I should be able to do the operation so that I'll be getting work to do and help my family.
Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit, Chobodom.
Let's talk more about COVID-19 because more people are dying in transit and it is becoming alarming. That's the worry of the Ghana Medical Association, which explains the increased cases in COVID-19 in the country is overstretching health facilities. The country has recorded 345 new cases, bringing its case count to 109,022. The current active cases 6,765 and 892 deaths recorded. Currently, 101,365 recoveries have been recorded. Let's analyze these figures. And joining me for this is Deputy General Secretary for the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Titus Bayo. Doc, I'm grateful for your time. This has been your worst fear since the country entered its third wave. What's our situation now? Manageable, beyond repairs, or out of hand?
Good afternoon, Aisha, and thank you for having me. I would say that it is, but we are almost at the stretch limit. And we have episodes or days where we are inundated calls of people trying to find ICU beds and not getting, especially within the capital. So I should emphasize that this is not nationwide, but within Accra, we are having challenges in particular for...
Hello, Mr. Bayo.
Yes.
Great. So we're all happy when a government announced last week that it was going to intensify efforts to ensure enforcement of the protocols. Our checks hasn't really shown any positive picture out there. What else can we do? What differently can we do to deal with this situation?
Well, other than enforcement, I don't know else we can do. In this, our debacle is the enforcement of the protocol. And like you said, we've had the Accra Metropolitan Assembly and the regional minister for the Greater Accra region. And I also heard the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly saying they were going to enforce the protocol. I haven't seen much of the enforcement in Accra yet. I don't know about the situation in Kumasi, but I think our best bet now is the enforcement of these protocols because the other arm is the vaccine. But as you know, we are having challenges with getting large quantities of vaccines to vaccinate the population over a short period of time. So our biggest, let's say, chance to overturning the event of things will be enforcing the protocols.
Let's practically look at the picture in our hospitals. Paint a picture for me. How does it look now?
Well, I will paint a picture from the view of a patient. And I'll just give you an example. That yesterday I had a colleague call me trying to get an ICU bed for her mother. And this is a doctor. And she had called all the centers in Accra and was not getting space. This call started the day before. She was told to call some of the private, I don't want to mention names of the facilities, but virtually she called almost every center where you can have an ICU bed. And the man was having SpO2, that's the oxygen saturation, around 60-80% on non-rebreather max. So this is someone who would need intensive care. She was getting oxygen at the hospital where she is, but not having access to an intensive care bed. And that wasn't the only call I had the day before yesterday and yesterday. This is the picture that is on the ground when it comes to intensive care. Ordinary hospital bed you would get. Hospital bed to get oxygen you will get. But if it gets to the point of intensive care, at one of the places she called, she was told there were about 4 people waiting on a waiting list to try and get into so the picture that I had from a distressed colleague who called. So I think Ghanaians need to know about this so that we can reform our behavior. Ask the agencies responsible to force us to behave well. If you know that your next illness, you may be stranded trying to get an ICU bed and may die of a preventable cause, I think you behave well.
So if I understand what you're saying, ICUs are currently full, correct?
The issue is that it's difficult to say that they are currently full throughout because it's episodic. So there's a time where you have an increased demand calling around not getting, but of course, it's not dying. So someone dies, a bed becomes available, but that bed suddenly gets full. But I can say on authority that 2 nights ago and yesterday morning, I had people calling, and I personally took part in the calls trying to find a bed for someone, an ICU bed for a colleague's mother in Accra here, and we're not getting. As at this moment, I don't know what the situation is. It's possible some beds have become free, but it just tells me that episodically we get to a place where the capacity is stretched beyond limit.
And again, paint a picture for me. How does the bed become free? Is it that a lot of people die before the bed become free, or they recover? How would you put the two?
Well, when you are admitted to an ICU, you have only one of two options. Either you die or you recover. It is a prayer that most people recover. But in the past few days, as you see on the Ghana Health Service dashboard, our death figures have been going up. So which means that people are recovering as well as some people are also dying, unfortunately.
So if you say people are dying in transit, what exactly do you mean?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
If you say people are dying in transit, what does it mean?
People are dying in what? I didn't get you.
In transit. In transit.
Oh, no, I think what I said was that unfortunately, some people are being discharged. Unfortunately, a few people are also dying.
Okay.
And that's what I said.
So I want to understand that, is it when you are transferring people from one facility to another, or, I mean,
No, I don't think I have mentioned the issue of transport, like in transport from one facility to the other.
Okay.
What I have said is that when people are admitted to the ICU, you have two options or possible outcomes. Either you or you are discharged. And I said that as much as people are recovering and being discharged, unfortunately, a few are also dying. And that is why we see with the increase in death figures on the Ghana Health Service dash, which if you go there now, you will see that our mortality figures are inching up over time.
Okay.
And that is the only way by which an ICU bed becomes free. Either someone gets well and is discharged, or unfortunately dies.
So as it stands now, what is our last bet, and what differently can we do? Because it's obvious the vaccines are not in yet. It's obvious that people are not obeying the rules. What do we do? Are we going to sit and fold our arms and watch the people die?
Well, I think there's still a lot we can do. But the end result of all of that, like I mentioned, the low-hanging fruit here is the enforcement of these protocols or adherence to the protocols. So how can we get that in? We must change our communication. We must let the people know what the situation is. People should not have a feeling that things are as normal. You may go for that party, you may disregard the protocol, have that wedding, go and sit at the reception, but the next day, if you need an ICU bed, you may not just get one, and you may end up dying. So that must come to everybody's attention.
Doc, clarify this for me before I leave you. Which of the variants are we seeing? Is it still the Delta variant?
Yeah, the predominant.
Dr. Titus Bayo, he's Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. Let's do more on COVID-19 and updates, but from Germany, because the Chancellery is to decide the way forward in the next few months regarding possible lockdowns and what appears to be the fourth wave. DW's Thomas has more. He will be joining us shortly. German leaders announced that they would end free coronavirus testing in October. Why was this decision taken, Thomas?
As the number of infections rise, German authorities are trying to put more pressure on those who have not yet been vaccinated, especially as officials have pointed that this segment of the population is behind the rising number of cases in the country. There is a perceived vaccine fatigue here in Germany, as well as a reported stagnation in the inoculation rate. But as every German adult can now get a free vaccination without any kind of priority list, authorities have pointed that those who do not want to get their jab will have to provide proof of a negative test more often when they are indoors with other people, for example in a restaurant or in a gym, and they will have to pay for their own tests.
Why is there such a debate in Germany about these antigen tests?
Until now, the German government has offered those tests for free and they are widely available. They are seen as a good way for people to return to a sense of normality. You get your negative test and then you go to the restaurant next door kind of thing. They are also seen as a good way to identify positive cases and have a better picture of the coronavirus situation in the country. So now that they will no longer be free for the unvaccinated, a measure that, by the way, will start in October, there's concern that this could impact that picture as people would possibly refrain from taking them if they have to pay. And there has also been criticism that imposing more restrictions for the unvaccinated is, in a way, making vaccination compulsory through the back door. The government rejects this, saying that vaccination remains voluntary.
General, how bad is the fourth wave of the coronavirus pandemic in Germany? Thomas.
Although infection numbers in Germany are still low compared to the crisis at the beginning of the year, there is indeed growing concern about the rate in which new cases have been increasing in the past few weeks, about the spread of the highly contagious Delta variant, and also about the situation in other European countries. Germany registered this week nearly 5,000 new daily cases, which is an increase of 40% compared to the previous week and the highest number since the end of May. Meanwhile, around 55% of Germans, or about 46 million people, are now fully vaccinated. This is certainly positive compared to other nations around the world, but below the government's wish of 70 or 80%.
We're keeping an eye on Germany and Europe as well as we deal with our issues in Ghana. DW's Thomas Sparrow there bringing us update from Germany. We'll take a break on the polls. Remember, the hashtag is the pulse. My personal handle at the Nana Aisha. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to the Pulse. The relatives of 3 accused persons standing trial for the murder of social media activist Ibrahim Mohammed in Nigeria were left disappointed as the court for the 4th time adjourned the case. Though relatives anxiously waited at the Asoka District Court complex for the arrival of the 3, the prosecutor had asked for the case to be adjourned. Chief Superintendent Kofi Blagoji had prayed the court to adjourn the case as prosecution awaits advice from the Attorney General's Department on a duplicate case docket. He later told journalists this will enable the AG's office to pursue and advise on the case accordingly.
And then they'll put their input, they'll peruse the docket and advise accordingly.
So it's not
the AGs?
No, the accused.
No, they are on their way coming. But it's unfortunate that the trial judge couldn't go, so we have to adjourn it.
Okay.
And as we indicated to the court, that we forwarded the docket to the AG's office. So definitely the AG has to peruse the docket, advise on it, then we'll see the way forward.
Okay, so you are currently waiting for advice from the AG?
Yeah, then we can see the way forward.
Rahinatu Ibrahim is sister of the late Ibrahim Mohammed Kaaka Macho.
Justice in any idea, yes, it's him saying, I mean, won't be a justice. And to share than I
This is a Kanaka Shukran, who had him say, and they'll bet me a backward to cram one who breeding Kaaka.
Oh, I know they are hard in it. Sir, some of you has them more. Young Fawa, Makotua, and yes, she send the panel has them no demushim. And Tiafana Makoto, the Yadi and High.
Today, a pan of motion show was our court here.
Me patro court tonight, and ye per justice. Justice in the air, and tears so young carry. Justice in an years, she said.
The National Peace Council warns that failure to check the activities of the Fix the Country campaigners would undermine the stability of the country. To this end, Chairman of the Council, Reverend Dr. Enesedu Jemfi, says the Council plans to meet conveners to work towards sustaining a peaceful environment for national development. He spoke to JoyNews' Parker Wilson after stakeholder engagement on national development and stability.
Yeah, we hope to engage them along the line. We don't leave anything to chance as far as our work is concerned. And sometimes we do most of these things quietly, so people don't even notice that we're doing them. But it's important that we engage them, listen to them. Sometimes people want to be heard. So once you give them the platform to talk, it opens the door, and then you're able to put a finger on exactly what the issues are.
But clearly, violent demonstrations are a warning sign that we need to check.
Yeah, I mean, nobody expects that demonstrations are legal, but it need not be violent. And I'm sure some of the things that have been in discussion, I heard even on your own network, people complaining about burning of tires on the road and the effect on the road. Now, these are things that we need to speak against and ensure that you have a right to demonstrate, but do it peacefully. And it's the most important about demonstration is that I have an issue and I want people to hear me. So once you presented your issue, that is it. Leave it there and let the appropriate authorities handle it.
Welcome back to The Pulse. He was in China as Ghana's deputy head of mission when COVID-19 surfaced in 2019. He was instrumental in supporting Ghanaians, especially students who panicked as many were dying of the viral infection. He also was a key figure in dealing with the Chinese government on behalf of the Republic of Ghana, having obtained his doctorate degree and lived in that country with his family. Dr. Charles Dramina, known popularly as Dr. China, is back in Ghana after his mission in China to live and support the development of the country. We have at some point hosted him virtually from his base in Beijing, but today he joins us in the studio as we discuss his experiences in China as a diplomat dealing with the government and people of China, and of course helping out with the COVID-19 situation there. What key lessons can Ghana take from China, which is now an economic superpower? Dr. Charles Dramina, ni hao ma? How do I respond? Goodness me. Good to see you back home.
Good to be back home, yeah.
Doc, you schooled in China, right?
I did, yeah.
How was the experience like?
Well, I mean, greetings to our cherished viewers. I mean, for starters, given our educational system here, we are free to, express ourselves and, sometimes offer opposing ideas to our teachers, and our teachers would take time to explain to us. So going to China, it was a totally different thing. I mean, given their cultural beliefs, when you do that, it's assumed that you are sort of opposing authority and all that. So it's one of the shocks one would get whenever one gets there. But by and large, we went through, we did a lot of practical training and stuff like that. And we were able to get to the bottom of it. At the end of the day, we managed to solve it.
Living in China, schooling there, is there a particular lifestyle in China that you think can boost our expectancy, knowing very well that, I mean, the Chinese people usually live very long?
Well, yes. I believe that the ultimate is for one to be one's own keeper as far as health matters are concerned. That is something the Chinese system is designed in such a way that they continuously drum it in the minds of people. So if you're a student, you're encouraged, don't just be studying, be active, engage in sporting activities, engage in extracurricular activities. If you're a worker, be active. I mean, just before I came, I visited one of the major banks, Bank of China, and exactly during break time, all staff were asked, get off your desk, walk around, do this, do that. So these are things that form part of the society and in effect enhance one's lifestyle.
They eat a lot of greens and a lot of raw stuff. That's why they've been blamed for bringing us COVID.
Well, you could in a way say that they explore a lot when it comes to their dietary requirements and all that. But again, the cities in the coastal belt are different from those in the middle belt and then the western section, because the coastal belt mainly they eat seafood and all that. But ultimately, as I stated earlier on, they make you believe that you are your own keeper. Be a keeper of your health. No one, not even the doctors, can save you.
Yeah.
You do what you have to do, and you reduce the frequency that you'll be presenting yourself to the hospital.
And talking about COVID, I mean, it's top of the agenda now. I think we should deal with it and get it out of our way. But how did it all start, especially with a lot of Ghanaians who panicked and wanted to come home? I mean, we spoke with a couple of them who said, a number of them, not a couple, who said the government of Ghana should come and, you know, bring them a rescue mission, bring them back home and all that.
Yeah, I mean, as we speak, honestly, the origin of COVID is not known. I mean, there have been reports here and there.
It's not from Wuhan?
Well, it was detected in Wuhan. That is a fact. Okay. But as to whether it was a lab leak or from a natural cause, we really don't have concrete evidence. When you look at what has really transpired from December 2019, when it was first identified, to January 30th, when the WHO declared it a public health emergency of international importance, and then to March, when it was declared a pandemic, all the sequence of events point to the fact that, indeed, some evidence point to the fact that there is a possible lab leak. Some also point to the fact that it's of a natural cause. And when you look at successive reports from even the United States government, when in March 2020, the US intelligence community conducted an investigation, they came out saying that it is possible it has not been genetically modified. So it's the issue of it being a lab leak becomes quite slim. Okay. And then you look at the WHO report that was released after the investigation this year. They also pointed to the fact that, indeed, it's a zoonotic, condition that emanated from a natural cause. So there are, counter evidences, piece of evidence here and there, pointing to the fact that it may be a deliberate thing or it may be a natural disaster. Nobody knows. But I think ultimately the important thing is for us to focus more on how we can get our people out of this pandemic, how we can protect lives, how we can safeguard national economies. And in our case, when the thing struck in China, we were able to mobilize people. We had a fantastic head of mission, the Ambassador Edward Boateng, and the team there, the Foreign Service official, everyone played a key role in reaching out to the students. We made sure that we sort of got into their minds, calmed them down, because in situations like this, you'll be very worried. Parents were very worried, guardians, everybody was worried, but your ability to calm nerves down, to reassure people that, hey, let's be calm, we will get through it, would really make the difference. And indeed, the Ghana mission in Beijing exhibited that, and government of Ghana also supported largely. Individuals like Honorable Kennedy Ejapon also supported. We airlifted food supplies to China, and we were able to go through by and large. All
right. So, of course, we've dealt with that bit. Now we are in a third wave, and we're struggling to deal with that. With the experience that you have, how would you advise that we deal with our problem here back home in Ghana?
I think the key thing really for me is that we should be our own keeper.
Okay.
The health experts cannot guarantee your safety. The law enforcement agents cannot guarantee your safety. So if there are enough laws in the country, put on your nose masks, do this, do that, and you decide to flout them, you are jeopardizing your own safety. Okay. And that is the key difference. Other people are following the laws religiously. Others are also not believing the fact that we really are in some danger of a sort. But if we are to take our own lives into our hands and be our own keepers, we will ensure that whatever we do, we put the measures ahead, and then we follow them religiously. I mean, just simply ensuring social distancing would go a long way in getting this thing controlled, because we still do not have a cure and we do not know the origin. So,
we've been struggling to get vaccines for the population, and of course it does appear that we'll have to wait a lot more longer to get the vaccines, and which health experts say is the surest way to at least minimize the infections and also people who will be hospitalized. At the government level, how do we approach this?
I think in our case, government of Ghana under the leadership of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been very proactive. Our minister and all the other stakeholders have been very, very proactive. When you look at how we've approached this issue, the frantic efforts that have been put in place to secure vaccines, our vaccine chain, the delivery chain, everything has been so far so good, if I would put it. And I believe that government can do its bit. It is important for the citizenry to also support government. If the government is doing everything it can and the citizens are not in support, it becomes a big challenge. So we need to do everything possible to ensure that we are able to coordinate our efforts. Citizens are able to uphold the laws and regulations, be in your mask, enforce social distancing, go for the vaccine if you've not vaccinated. And
where are the vaccines?
Well, I mean, government is doing its bit to bring whatever it can, and then it's a continuous process. I mean, you wouldn't have just even in the advanced economies. I mean, when you look at the time vaccines were outlawed, and now you would expect that countries like Germany and could have 100% vaccination. But no, Germany is just around 55%. They have done very well, but I mean, that's to let you know that it isn't easy a task to vaccinate an entire process. So if our government is also doing its best, we should also support government so we can get to the herd immunity that we also desire.
Let's talk about your experience in China as deputy head of our mission. What experiences, I mean, can you share with us?
Well, it's just like talking about all that happened in China during the 4-year term. But to summarize it, as I indicated earlier on, we had a very fantastic team in China, headed by the ambassador, Edward Boateng, an astute businessman, and then the foreign service officers, Macarius, Sylvester, and co. These are all experienced people in their respective field. So everyone brought his or her experience to bear. In our day-to-day activities, we always ensure that the interest of Ghana was held first and was prioritized. And that culminated in a lot of pluses for us. I mean, as a country, we've been able to move our level of engagement with the Chinese from where we took over in 2017 to the current stage, which is very high. I mean, Ghana currently is one of the top 5 countries the Chinese engage with. And these are, in diplomatic terms, very significant, achievements as far as country-to-country interactions are concerned. And that also has translated into real benefits to the people, because we have a lot of people-to-people exchanges that has resulted in technology transfer. I remember before we went to China, we had a lot of engagement and encouraged people, look, whatever you do or whatever you go to import from China, start thinking of getting the technology in Ghana so you do it here. A lot of people have bought into the idea, and that has resulted in so many people setting up factories and industries and so on and so forth. And that's the way to go, really. And I believe we'll go far with that.
So, of course, the lessons also from China that I believe we can emulate. China is today one of the world's biggest economy. What lessons can we take in order to better our economy, to better infrastructure, even the way we relate to people?
Just before I came, there was an interesting thing in the Chinese system, and I think that as a country, we should begin thinking along the lines of developing all round. All round in the sense that not all of us can be in the offices, not all of us can be in the banks. Some will necessarily have to be the technical people, the field people, and so on and so forth. if as a society we begin according these people or these categories of people the same amount of respect we accord those in the banks, we will begin to change the narrative. And once we do that, we would have an all-round development as a country. That is what the Chinese is doing. As we speak now, from next month, the Chinese are going to cancel extra classes for kids.
Okay.
The simple reason being that they think, in their opinion, that kids doing extra classes is becoming inimical to the state, because some kids naturally have, IQ levels that are for technical education, others are for, the mainstream university and all that. But by having the extra curriculum activity, by having extra classes, and for them it is back-to-back, intensive one, you are able to sort of hype the IQ, the person qualifies to go into the university, but not necessarily with an interest in that. So if they do not take care, they realize that after a few years, they will have very few technical people, and that will affect the economy. That is being proactive. And I think our government is doing so. When you look at the government of His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, a lot of investment is being made in the COVID and technical training. That's the way to go. Whilst we are looking at the traditional university style of education, we should also look at the technical aspect, so we develop in a well-rounded fashion and move forward as a country.
Well, all we can say is well done. Very good job done. Now that you're back in Ghana, what next? I asked you that, right? The last time.
Well, first of all, I think it's been an awesome experience contributing to national development. Now that I'm back, it isn't going to be any different. I believe that an MPP government has the ability to transform the fortunes of Ghana. However, for an MPP government to be able to transfer the fortunes of Ghana, an MPP government must stay in power continuously for at least 4 consecutive terms. That requires a stronger party. And given my finance background and political financing experience, I think the best way of making the party stronger or the MPP stronger is to improve upon its treasury management. So yes, going forward, I'll be looking at how best I can support the party in its treasury management so as to make the party stronger. And by that, we'll be able to stay in power to contribute to national.
So you're back as a party man. You were Director of Administration, right?
Yes, I was Director of Finance and Administration during the campaign period.
Okay.
And then went to, it was an awesome experience there too, streamlining party activities at the headquarters, finance and administrative matters, and more or less rallying the people behind the common agenda so we'll be able to prosecute the agenda. And indeed, we did so by winning the 2016 general elections.
Dr. Charles Dramina, a.k.a. Dr. China. Thanks so much for coming to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
I wish you well as you come back home to support a good cause.
Thank you.
And that was Dr. Dramina speaking to us on the Pulse, and he's been talking about China. Just a quick one. What's the situation in China right now?
There is a slight increase in the cases. I guess they're also experiencing their third wave of a sort. But again, the people are very, very concerned about it, and everybody is truly adhering to the COVID-19 protocol. So we are doing same here. I believe we should also adhere to it more rigorously, and then we'll be able to overcome any potential disastrous condition.
I'm happy that you joined us this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aisha,
for coming. And more on the Pulse. Professor at the Ahmadu Bello University in Nigeria, Mohammed Ishahaku, is urging African countries to, like Ghana, follow the lead of Nigeria and open up to the application of GMO technology to food production. Professor Ishahaku, who is also Executive Director of the Institute of Agricultural Research at the university, says the technology is helping his country cut down on the use of pesticides on farms and wants other countries to learn from them. Scientists in Nigeria have developed GMO beans with inherent resistance to pest attacks, which the government approved for farmers to grow in 2019. Professor Ishahaku told Joy News during a tour by journalists that Africa must open up to science and technology application to food production.
Almost all Nigerians consume cowpea in one form or the other, using the grain for food. Nigeria is the largest producer of cowpea in the world, but it also has a national deficit for its cowpea requirement year in, year out. One of the reasons for the shortfall in our understanding as scientists is this insect pest constraint, which reduces cowpea yield on our farmers' field, resulting on the average yield of less than 1 ton per hectare. The only way it can be controlled is by the application of insecticides. Insecticides are not only harmful, but they are also expensive and often unaffordable to resource-poor farmers. Until such a time when it was discovered that through genetic engineering, it is possible to transfer genes across species. So that was what we leveraged on, and then transferred a gene from a harmless saprophytic bacteria in the soil, and which has been found to guarantee protection against the insect maruca. It is high time for Ghana and other countries to hasten the process of ensuring that this seed gets into the hands of their farmers, for them to be able to unlock the benefit there is in this new variety. It is highly beneficial, not only in terms of productivity, but it reduces the use of harmful insecticides in our environment.
Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is part of the team of journalists visiting the Ahmadu Bello University in Nigeria to learn more about this, and he joins us live on the phone. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, tell us more about this product Nigerian scientists have developed.
Well, this is something that, from what Professor Isiaku tells us, Nigeria has been working on for close to 15 years now. Their scientists have traveled around the world and tried to understand how the technology works, and collaborated with scientists in Australia, as well as in Kenya and even in the United States of America, to come up with these varieties. And from the explanation he gave, these beans, or cowpea varieties in particular, possess inherent resistance when it comes to pest response. And so, to a certain extent, when pests that do destroy beans in particular consume them, then it kills them, and then it ensures a situation where farmers don't have to apply more pesticides to their fields. And for Nigeria, this is an innovation that they're hoping to spread across the rest of Africa, so that then other countries can also Nigeria from these varieties.
So what have the scientists and farmers been telling you, Joseph?
And so this is like the second year that the farmers in particular are growing this. They testify to how some of these varieties are helping deal with the situation with pest attack on a lot of their fields. I complain that having to repeatedly make use of pesticides on the field, some of them are suffering from the health impact of it. And so having to resort to this specific variety that helps reduce the use of pesticides, they are confident that their health situation will get better going forward. And for the scientists who are working on these varieties, they're hoping to invest and do more of it beyond even the cowpea, including varieties like maize, which would also have similar traits to avoid the use of pesticides on maize fields.
I'm grateful that you brought us that. We'll take a break on the pulse. We'll be back shortly. Dr. Jane Mensah-led Electoral Commission has directed the opposition NDC to table its proposed electoral reforms before the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, IPAC. The commission says it's open to receive suggestions and feedbacks aimed at enhancing the country's electoral process, but however insists IPAC is the appropriate forum for such suggestions. The NDC compiled 30 suggestions for electoral reforms. They include giving legal backing to the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, which hitherto has been simply an advisory body, which decisions are not binding. The NDC also wants persons appointed by the President as chairperson of the Electoral Commission to go through parliamentary vetting. My colleague, Kaaka Wilson, joins me with more on this one. Kwesi, you've been checking with your sources at the Commission. What have they been telling you?
All right, so Aisha, we know that the NDC officially wrote to the Commission somewhere last week, and the Commission also responded to them. They acknowledged receipt of their petition and indicated to them that, well, some of the suggestions that they are putting across clearly are not within their mandate. The Electoral Commission indicated that an issue about where EC nominees would have to seek parliamentary approval, it goes beyond their mandate. Again, splitting the EC office into two goes beyond their mandate. But however, the things that are within their mandate, obviously they will look at it, because the Electoral Commission believes that any suggestion that will enhance the electoral process, they are going to welcome it. But this decision was taken after they held a meeting at the top level and decided that, well, the appropriate forum where the NDC can table their concerns is the IPAC. They don't want the situation where they'll open the floodgate for other political parties to also equally submit their suggestions to them. When it happens like that, what it means is that they are dealing with individual parties, and that they do not want to deal with individual parties, but however, deal with political parties as a group. And that is why they have created the IPAC, so that anybody who has concerns about the electoral process can raise it, and then collectively they can discuss it. But there was something that the EC was clear, that with the issue of the Regional Coalition Center, actually, I remember that during the 2020 election, the constituency had to send their results to the regional center before taking them to the national headquarters. The EC says that upon their estimation and their review, they realized that that process really helped them in the 2020 election. So even though NDC is calling for it to be terminated or abolished, the EC disagree. But however, they say that if the NDC would want to propose for a better way of doing it and enhance the process, of course, they welcome the idea. So the EC is asking the NDC that when they convene the next IPAC meeting, which you are told might be the end of this month, they should make sure they bring all their concerns, which are within the mandate of the EC, for them to address the concerns for them.
How is the EC taking suggestions by the NDC that future commissioners must go through Parliament before being approved?
Well, so that the EC does not really have a comment on that, because the argument is that this is for the executive arm of government to deal with it. As for EC commissioners and persons who may have been the commissioners for the Electoral Commission, they are there to serve the people. And so if the NDC wants such a proposal, it would need a constitutional amendment. And that amendment does not rest on the shoulders of the Electoral Commission. The amendments is with Parliament, and of course, government would have to now initiate that for Parliament to make the necessary ratification of the amendment. So if they want to do that and the executive buys into the idea, well, they are there to serve the people. They will ensure that the right thing is being done.
Kaaka Wilson is my colleague who's been monitoring the NDC suggestions that a number of reforms must be made at the Electoral Commission. Now, the Ghana Immigration Service has repatriated some 76 illegal immigrants suspected to be recruited as internet fraudsters. The immigrants, who are made up of 72 Togolese and 4 Nigerians, are believed to be between 16 and 45 years old. They were swooped in their hideout in Volta Regional Capital of Ho. Preliminary investigations indicated that they paid about 4,500 to some individuals who promised to recruit them onto the QNet internet networking system. Volta Regional Commander of the Immigration Service, Deputy Commissioner of Immigration, Peter Claver Nantuo, advised the public against falling victim to these internet fraudsters.
We keep advising you people that if you have 4,500 to give to somebody, why can't you use that money as a seed capital and start a business for yourselves? Number one. Number two, right now the borders are closed. And if you have that money, why not sit in Togo and use it to start a business? you people will go back right now to Togo. If you like, come back. I'll prosecute and jail you in Ghana. I don't see why young men like you, ladies like you, cannot start something small and stay in Togo. You will risk break our executive law that says the borders are officially closed. You come in nothing useful to do. QNet, cyber fraud, and other matters. I can assure you, we are men up to the task. People don't have the basic travel document to enter Ghana. They don't have. Some don't have passport, some don't have even card they don't have. They just get up through the bush and Okada, they are in Ghana. Yes. One thing too I may need to lay emphasis on is that there are some non-Ghanaians who lure these innocent boys and girls into the country, so-called kingpins of the QNet business. And you people would have been aware that about a month or two ago at Bolgatanga, we were able to rope in over 500 QNet boys. The statistics across the regions are telling that we are really up to the mandate and the requirements, and we have the proficiency, the efficiency, and the know-how to track them down. And so that these are some of the results. So as such, my final warning to those greedy leaders in Ghana is that whether you are a Nigerian or a Togolese boss, don't try and import people to come and join your QNet illegal business. Don't. They will get you. The truth of the matter is that normally it's difficult to get the boss himself. Whichever way that things are, they can go around jumping down, but that day will come where they will sweat and sweat heavy to exonerate themselves from the long arm of the law.
Hey, officer, they take number. Really? Necessary.
We're live on The Pulse. We're streaming live on all our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and we're asking you to tweet at us at the hashtag The Pulse. We take a break. It's time for sports.
Many thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Time to bring you sports. My name is Hans Mensah Ando, and the 2021-2022 English Premier League season gets underway on Friday. The Red Devils, Manchester United, will be looking to end their 8-year trophy drought, and their fans are optimistic. My colleague George Addo Jr. has visited Manchester United's home venue, Old Trafford, ahead of the new season.
The last time Manchester United won the Premier League, the English Premier League, was in 2013 when Sir Alex Ferguson was leaving the job after doing so well for them. The hope of every Manchester United fan is that sometime very soon they can win the English Premier League again. Last season they were very close, not too close, second of course in terms of the position, but still far away from the noisy neighbours Manchester City. This season should give them an opportunity to try and fight, to want to be the best team in England. Jadon Sancho for Borussia Dortmund has joined Manchester United. Ralph Varane of Real Madrid has joined Manchester United. That means they have moved a step closer in trying to solve the problems in defence and in attack. But could this be the season for Manchester United? Manchester United are up against Leeds United in the first game of the English Premier League season. We're here to find out how United fans are feeling ahead of what's supposed to be a good season for them. Hello and welcome to the Theatre of Dreams.
I think he's a great signing. I think he's going to be a great threat for United. He looks great going forward, great control. I think he's going to be an absolute bargain of a signing, to be honest. You know, I think he's going to be class. And he's a London lad as well, same as us.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's going to be amazing. I mean, he did such a good job at the Euros, and no matter what happened, I still think he's fantastic.
To be honest, I'd love him to stay. I think he's sort of been a little bit inconsistent for United over the last few seasons, but I would say last season was one of his best seasons for United. So ideally I'd like him to stay. I think it'd be a big loss if we lose Pogba. So yeah, fingers crossed he stays, but it looks like he's going Paris the way things are going, so we'll see. I think we can push for an FA Cup, a League Cup. To be honest, I think the league's going to be out of our reach, especially if City sign Harry Kane. I think he's going to score about 40 goals for them next season if he signs for them. So I think it's going to be a tough one. I'd settle for a trophy and like maybe second place like last season. But obviously we need to push for the Premier League. You know, as long as we're like we can bridge the gap a little bit more between us and City, I think I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, great side. It's definitely a player we needed, right wing. Probably one of the best English talents out at the moment, so yeah, it's definitely what we needed. It's a step up in class. So he's been out in Germany for a few years, applied his trade, and yeah, he's going to come back and do a good job. So yeah, great signing. I hope we win it. Obviously City's a challenge, so if we can get close to City and really pushing for a title challenge, that'd be good. So we need to do better than last year, win trophies.
We're going to win it this season. Yeah, confident. No second this season, first this season.
For the season coming up, I think we'll definitely finish top 3. There's no doubt about that. But we definitely need to aim at winning one trophy, at least an FA Cup or something like that, to get the morale up and get us prepared for the season that comes after, because that's when we need to actually challenge for the title.
Yeah, we need a trophy for sure. Hopefully, challenge a bit closer to for the title. Yeah, and definitely win a trophy.
Nah, we'll win something. We'll win something. Win it all under Ole.
Okay.
Win all 4 pots.
Should be good. It's a bit of a ledge, so we'll see if we can do it in the Premier League. Fingers crossed. That's the dream, eh? We're going to win, obviously. Okay.
The United Trinity, best Lord Charlton, are united with United fans, hoping that this will be the season. I wish you the very best of luck. George Addy Jr. from Old Trafford.
And that's where we part company on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. And I must say, it has been a super fantastic afternoon with you. Let's do this again, same time, God willing, tomorrow. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Enjoy the rest of our programs.